And we have a whole team of 2024. I would just like to advise that if anybody's coming up to utilize the microphone, please ensure to remember that we do have an audience online, and without the use of the microphone, they will not be able to hear you. With those administrative chores of the way, again, let me welcome everybody here today to the District 3 Town Hall. Today's Town Hall will be geared around two very important initiatives that's taking place in the city. We'll be going to, I'm hoping we'll make it to the ballot in November. That being Bond 2024 and the Type A sales tax. But before we get into those programs, let me first recognize a few individuals that we do have in attendance tonight, that being Councilman Jim Klein, at-large council member. All right, okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. We also have our council member from District 2, the Honorable Sylvia Campos. All right. And we also have the host of tonight's town hall, which is the District 3 Councilman Roland Barrera, who, sir, I'd like to invite you up and allow you to say a few words.
All right, I'm so glad to see that we've got a few community people that are coming. At first, it got to the point where I knew everybody's name that was already here that's from the district. Feel free to sit up front. This isn't church. So feel free to sit up front. This isn't church. So I'm very excited that we're here today. I know the council has requested since the prior year or the prior years is that we have a lot more input before we get to this point, and because we feel that the council members obviously have the pulse of the community, and that's one of the reasons that we're here. I think we've put together this is a great first start. The first draft, there are some changes that we're hoping to make, and that's part of the reason for this. The council's already given some input so that way we can make some changes, or we can make some enhancements, shall I say, while still keeping within the 175 million. In addition, in addition, also, I guess we're going to talk about the proposition of what we're going to do with the Type A and the Type A sales tax. So thank you, everybody, for coming. And I think I saw there were 3 people online. So feel free to text anybody and tell them that they can find us on YouTube or on the city's website and on Facebook in addition, correct? All right. Okay, well, thank you very much. And with that, am I turning it back to you? Yes, sir. All righty.
I'd be remiss not to mention one more team member that is participating in tonight's event, that being the city manager, Mr. Peter Zanoni. Sir, if you want to say a few words.
I was talking to the chief in the parking lot, so we were here on time, but we had some important business to try to cover. So you all said it well, and we appreciate everybody starting at right on time. We know that we said about 7:30 we'll try to get everybody out of here. We know there's things that we do beyond these public meetings, but let me just say this, that it's always great to see the community out. Part of our business model at the city that is endorsed by the city council and myself is openness, transparency, as evidenced by the meeting, but we'll also have it broadcast live, and inclusion is the third one. And so we want to be inclusive. We're taking our budget information, the bond program and the sales tax to the community, not just to one meeting, but 5, there may be 6. And there's more. There's meetings at City Hall as well. And then we'll come back again in the July timeframe because as we develop these proposals and as the council gets a lot of information, things become maybe less certain from time to time. And so what we're going to hear tonight could change, not drastically, but it could. So when we come back to see you in the August timeframe on the budget, we're going to talk to you about what the end conclusion was on tonight's material because it will change a little bit from community input and ultimately from the city council. So that's it. So my message is thank you for being here tonight. We're glad we're here. We have some great leaders that will walk us through the evening. And then finally, this is about hearing from you. So Neiman has cut his slideshow a little bit shorter from the first meeting so that we can spend more time engaging you all. But we're glad to be here. We're glad of the progress in the city and the support from the community. So with that, we'll turn it over to Neiman.
Thank you, sir. And the city manager is absolutely correct. This is an unusual model. I say that because this really is a town hall that's really carrying two heavy initiatives, that being Bond 2024 and the sales tax. So with that understanding, we are going to give you an abbreviated presentation regarding both issues. However, for Bond 2024, please note that you can further reference and get even more details on that initiative at cctexas.com/Bond 2024. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So let's discuss Bond 2024. The current proposal that's presented to you all is a proposal for $175 million. Now, we are fully aware that that may cause a little sticker shock to some, but understanding that fact, we did decide that we wanted to do a little bit of a comparative between Bond 2024 at a total of $175 million and Bond 2022, which came in and was approved by a vast majority of our voters for $125 million. And if you note that the real largest driver between that cost of $175 million and $125 million for the previous bond program is really a $35 million investment in the public safety facilities. And we will go into that a little bit more in detail, but that's the biggest driver. In addition, you'll note for Bond 2024, there's been a slight bump in the city's desire to invest in our parks and recreation projects, as that is a quality of life initiative to continue providing greater amenities to our Corpus Christi residents and to our tourists. So for Bond 2024, what we're proposing are 42 projects, with 22 of those projects being dedicated to our streets, 11 projects being dedicated to parks, 7 projects for public safety, and 2 projects to address libraries and community centers. So I would be remiss not to let our citizens in the audience know that Bond 2024, though it is a $175 million investment that we're looking to pour into the community, it can be accomplished with no city property tax rate increase. Again, Bond 2024, $175 million, and it can be accomplished without a property tax rate increase. In addition, just like with previous bond programs, what the city is proposing is a large bond project, but we will be able to ensure that those projects are delivered to the community in a timely fashion, as evidenced by what we call our quote-unquote report card for previous bond programs. For example, for Bond 2020, we currently had 42 projects. 23 of those projects, even though it's only been 4 years, are already complete. 14 are currently in construction, 5 are in design. For Bond 2022, even though that project has only been approved for 2 years, we have 32 projects, 2 are already in construction, 29 are in design, and we have 1 that's currently in pre-design. Yes, sir.
For this, because this is important for us. So this changes, those 2 graphs change the city's business portfolio before. Neiman wouldn't be able to say this prior to 5 years ago. It took us 10 years on average to get a bond program done of this size. So this is a tremendous business change. We told the council that we would deliver the projects, and this is the proof right here. So the 2020 bond program, which takes about 4 years to execute a bond program, 4 or 5 years, because of the big projects that need extensive design that can be well over a year, 2 years just in the design alone. And then you move them into construction, which can take some time as well. So we're making good on the promise. There's no projects that are off schedule on the 2020 bond program. 88 of them, 88% are either complete or under construction. And in this most recent one that the voters approved about 2 years ago, 100% of the projects there's activity happening on them. 91% are under design, which is tremendous, and some of them are under construction. So this is the proof on, can we do it? Should we consider doing this? It's not only that there's no tax rate increase, but then the second question the community should ask is, hey, can you guys even deliver this? And this is the answer, yes, we can, and we can do it in a timely manner. So I just want to, I need to brag for a moment on the team. Jeff Edmonds is where? Is he here tonight? There he is. So Jeff and his team and Ernie and others that we have empowered with additional staff and the right tools delivering. And the community needs to know about that, so I just want to highlight. It's getting better, the councilman said, but, right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So giving you all a little bit of background on the bond programs and more importantly, demonstrating our ability to deliver, let's get a little bit more into the details regarding Bond 2024. Now, just note that we will first focus on District 3 specific projects, and then if we do have time, we'll go into more details regarding projects that's taking place in other districts across the community. So for streets, what we're proposing is $2.5 million for the design of Bear Lane, $2 million for the design of Allen Crest from Ayers to Dead End, and $2 million for the design of Shannon from Weber to Everhart. Now, we know that some individuals may ask, okay, what is design? Well, engineering design is the actions and activities that our engineering department has to actually take the street, turn it over to a design consultant, and with the understanding that the deliverable are construction plans. The city has a new business process where we're not going to our voters without without shovel-ready projects. So what we're proposing is be afforded the opportunity to secure the funding to get the repairs of these streets designed by our engineers. That includes surface, stormwater, utilities, drainage, all those different dynamics. And then in Bond 2026, we'd be coming back to you all with the request to provide the city the construction dollars that's necessary to move forward with building the street. And that's in keeping with the city manager's statement that we are changing our business processes within the city, where we are no longer taking unshovel-ready projects to the community. That way, funding isn't being long-lagged or piggy-banked, and rather we're actually taking that funding and quickly putting it into production for the community. For parks, what we're asking for is $2.75 million to continue on our investments in the upgrades and renovations of the Greenwood Baseball Sports Complex. For public safety, which is more community-wide, we're asking for $30 million, and that $30 million will serve to replace Fire Station 10 on Horn Road, replace Fire Station 8 on Castoris, and do the design or engineer plans for the future replacement of Fire Station 9 on Navigation Boulevard and Fire Station 11 on Airline. On the police side of the house, what we're asking for is $14 million, which will be the construction of a new police substation in Cal Allen, a new substation in the far south, which is District 5, and $1 million to do the design of a new substation that will be built near District 2 or by the La Palmera Mall. The whole intent for the building of these new substations is assisting CCPD, where we're modernizing our public safety force. And as everybody knows, in order for us to get into community police, be even more robust in our community policing, there has to be a need for a permanent presence. So we're looking at expanding that footprint for our substations throughout the community, and that would help to accommodate our police department with maintaining that permanent presence in the community as needed. Other significant projects is $2 million, which will go towards the design of a library and community center in District 5, as that's currently non-existent. We do not have an independent, self-standing library facility or senior center in District 5, which is a high growth area. So we're looking at gaining the voters' approval for the funding so we can address that concern. In addition, we're asking for $1.25 million to assist the city with exercising good stewardship by maintaining our historical homes in Heritage Park. Before we move forward, I'm going to stop for a second. Are there any questions about District 4 specific projects or public safety? I'm sorry, District 3. Sorry. All right. Yes.
Guess you're gonna let me drive here. So just some things that I want to address Okay. Let's see. Okay, so here's one one of the things that we're considering is there's another pot of money that we may be able to use if the rest of my colleagues would support that. So we're reviewing that with staff with the Bear Lane design. So we may be able to reappropriate that, and my recommendation is that we put it into parks. There's an aggressive schedule already on streets, even though everybody says, my street needs to be fixed, my street needs to be fixed. But I think these are some improvements that the community has come and told me about some other additional parks that we could reappropriate those funds. But, you know, that just to let people know already what it is that we're thinking about. The other thing is this Greenwoods baseball complex. As everybody knows, we were already working, it was $4.75 million that was appropriated on the last bond. That's currently under design right now with the architect, and they're looking to incorporate this into a phased plan to make it a sports complex, not just to improve the 3 ball fields that are out there. So in addition, so that ties into this fire station here is 1550 Horn. So what's going to happen is that's typically going to move, and it's going to move into the ball fields. So that way we're gonna utilize that to be able to utilize some of that land. So that just goes. It's going to continue to have an additional enhancement to the area. The other thing that I want to add is the Fire Station 8 replacement, 4645 Castores. That's where that assisted living facility that's been blight for over 2 decades, of which you know, we were fortunate that it had a fire. So that way we had to condemn it and tear it down in emergency. In fact, I think, has the whole complex been, so it's been completely cleared out. So those of you that lived in that South Park area, there was a lot of blight there. It was a haven for homeless people. It was unsafe for the community. It was also it was a nuisance for the police department, having to move people out of there. So we wanted to make sure that it's safe for the community. And by putting a fire station over there, that's going to completely enhance the community and enhance the safety of the area. So I just want to encourage everybody. This is really exciting that we're able to do this. The other thing I want to add now, as far as the substation, I think that's also a great project. Over here on this library community center, I can tell you one thing as your council member, even though it is in District 5, I would advocate that it needs to be further north, closer to Saratoga, because that way we still need one on the south side. Now, whether it's in District 5 or District 3, it's okay with me, whatever the boundaries is, but it's my hope that we can move it where it's centrally located so that way it supports District 3 and District 5, because we've never had a senior center. And I think that's it. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
No, please. Anytime, sir. It is your town also. So thank Councilman Barrero. We appreciate even providing more context. And that brings us back to this slide. So here's a schedule of our way ahead, specifically for stakeholder meetings that we're having in April through June. And the biggest takeaway is the planning of the Bond 2024 program is not taking place in a vacuum. As the city manager has stated, what we're looking for is feedback from our citizens, whether that feedback come in the form of town halls like we're having tonight, or if it comes in the form of feedback that we're receiving from different stakeholder groups across the community. What we're looking for is a proposal that we'll be able to take back to council, that we could say that, hey, this is not the city's plan. Rather, what we're asking the voters to vote on is the community plan with the buy-in and feedback from the community as a whole. And seeing that I have a little bit more time, I will go into a couple of additional projects that you will be seeing on the bond, which includes what we're calling our citywide projects. For streets, we have requesting $10 million for the reconstruction of Lower Broadway. As we know, that's a historical corridor that's fallen into disrepair. If not addressed quickly, we can expect that that street will have to be addressed, or if not closed, for safety and for public safety concerns. In addition, we're asking for $3 million to address drainage issues on the North Beach Peninsula, and $4 million to continue our efforts to widen the Yorktown corridor. In District 1, we're looking to expand Rand Morgan. This will be the design of that street. And then $3 million to couple with funding that the port received and grants to address the Sam Rankin corridor. That $3 million specifically will not be invested in the surface way. Rather, we are leveraging the funding that's being given to the port, federal dollars. In return, all we are being asked to do is do the utility improvements. For continuing along, we're asking for $6 million to reconstruct South Staples Access Road, $17 million to continue our construction and renovation of the Alameda Corridor, and $3.5 million to get designed for the second to last leg of the Alameda Corridor. In addition, we're asking for $11 million for the construction of Holly Road, which has already been designed in the previous bond, $3 million for the design of Graham Road, and $3.7 million to do renovations in a network cluster and Terra subdivision on Flower Bluff. In addition, we're also looking for $1 million to address the business corridor or sector that's currently located under JFK Causeway, which is also known as Snoopy's, Pier 37, and all those businesses. Moving forward, $3.3 million, and majority of these projects are design only, but $3.3 million for the design of Cimarron, $2.5 million for the design of Acushnet, $2.5 million for the design of Lipes, Grand Junction, Rodfield, and Brook. In addition, District 5 is seeking $1.5 million for multimodal pathways to be built out in District 5, so there won't be so much of a reliance on vehicular travel. For parks, we're asking $10 million to replace the Oso Golf Center, which has not been addressed since the 50s, and $2 million for parking lot improvements in support of the Texas State Aquarium. In addition, we're asking for $4.5 million to build out a swimming pool in the Hillcrest area, $1.75 million to continue our expansion of Levante Park. As everybody's aware that we took an old wastewater treatment facility, tore it down, and turned it into additional parkland space in the community. Oh, I'm sorry, water facility. Sorry, CCW, I'm in Chokane. I'm sorry. All right, sorry about that. And $2 million to continue our investment in Cheryl Veterans Memorial Park. In addition, we're asking for $1 million for one more quality of life project, which is improvements to Cole Park. As many of you, I'm sure, are aware, Bond 2022, we did request funding that has led to the building of, what is this, Tyler, the city's 5th splash pad in the community and a new playground. And as we can expect that those new amenities are only going to encourage not only more citizen traffic and patronage to the park, but also tourists. And we need to ensure that the parking lot and parking infrastructure around that park can accommodate that increased traffic. Sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you are not aware, the replacement for the Harbor Bridge had led to basically equal opportunity complaint from citizens in the Hillcrest community because they felt that the bridge had effectively cut off their community from the remainder of the city, and the citizens of Hillcrest were deemed to have been disenfranchised. So that naturally brought the Harbor Bridge to a halt approximately 6 to 10 years ago. And the bridge was not going to go forward, and that's going to not only impact the state, but it's going to naturally impact the community as well. So to address that concern, the Federal Highway Association, who is paying for the bridge, entered into an agreement with the city of Corpus Christi, the Texas Department of Transportation, and the Corpus Christi Housing Authority. According to the agreement that was made, was that in order for the bridge to be deemed compliant and for the EO complaint to be resolved, the city had to, acting as an agent of TxDOT, had to put together a plan to detail how we were going to address all the parkland and recreational areas that were impacted by the new Harbor Bridge. We was able to finally get that plan approved by the Federal Highway Association, and those plans include an aquatic center. Aquatic centers were estimated going to cost around $10 million to $11 million. We had that discussion with TxDOT, and they decided to partner with the city and contribute $5.5 million to the construction of that aquatic center. We are now, in turn, going to the voters with a request for $4.5 million of funding so we can invest in that pool, meet the Federal Highway Association compliance, and get the Harbor Bridge replacement completed, which is the best which is in the best interest of the community as a whole. Right, yes, sir. Any more questions? All right, I'm running out of time, so rather than continue to belabor the point, just please note, as stated before, the remaining projects are really outside of the district, but they are very important regardless of if you live in that district or not, because the way that we see this is these are amenities and these are projects that are necessary, not specifically for our district, but for our community as a whole. Again, we encourage that you visit www.cctexas.com/bond 2024. Please take a deliberate look, at the projects. There's a whole lot more detail and a very comprehensive presentation that you can review. And we look forward to entertaining any questions or concerns that you all may have, as there are points of contact on the website to address any questions or concerns that may be had by our citizens. So with that being said, again, I'll stand by for any questions before we turn it over to the discussion regarding Type A. Questions online? All right, again, my name is Neiman Young. Again, if you have any questions regarding Bond 2024, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. In the interim, I would now like to turn it over to one of my colleagues, Ms. Heather Herbert, and she will, Assistant City Manager, and she will be walking you all through the Type A Sales Tax Initiative.
Thanks, Neiman. We'll go ahead and, I'm not quite as tall as Neiman is. We're going to talk about sales tax. So we're going to give a little bit of background on local sales tax, along with talking about the allowable use of Type A sales tax, what the current authorization is, and then what the baseline has been brought forward by City Council. And then we'll talk a little bit about what our engagement has been with the city and with stakeholders in the community. Take this off here. So, local sales tax. So, the City of Corpus Christi residents currently pay 8.25% of sales tax per $1 of certain goods and services that are subject to sales tax. So 6.25 cents of this is allocated directly to the state, and it goes to the state for the general operations of the state. But there's 2 cents that is able to be used for local purposes. So that's not only here in Corpus, but that is across the state. And so we have our 2 cents is spread amongst multiple organizations and uses. And so we have ½ cent that goes for transportation. It goes directly to the transit authority. And so that goes for the operation of the buses and things like that. We have 1 cent of the 2 cents that goes directly to the city for city operations. So it helps pay for roads, for operations of the city, parks, libraries, things like that. And then the final ½ cent is divided up 4 different ways. 2 of those ½ cent segments go to what we call Type A or 4A, which is for economic development across the city. And so there were 2 projects that were approved by the voters. We'll go into those in a little bit more detail, but one was for the downtown seawall improvements, and the other was the construction of an arena. Then we have another quarter of the ½ cents or 1/8 cents that goes for what's called Type B or 4B. Again, this is for economic development, affordable housing, and streets. And then finally, we have another 1/8 cents that goes for the crime control district. And this is for support of and programs related to our police department. So each of these 1/8 cents produces about almost $9 million a year. The 1 cent that goes into the city operations contributes about $71 million a year. Transportation, the RTA receives about $35 million a year, and then the state receives about $445 million a year. So this is just a visual representation. If you take 1 penny, half of that penny goes for city operations, a quarter of the penny goes to the RTA, and the remaining quarter penny is divided up amongst the 4 different uses that we just discussed. So looking at the authorization, so what is Type A or 4A sales tax? So back in 1979, the state passed the Development Corporation Act that allows cities to utilize a portion of sales tax for economic development and to encourage new growth in the local economy. So eligible projects that can be used with this sales tax is quality of life improvements, convention tourism and entertainment facilities, affordable housing, water sewer facilities, parking and transportation facilities, along with projects that help develop and expand business enterprises and retain primary jobs. So the funding cannot be used for residential streets, residential areas, or for general services. So it has to be used specifically for these purposes. So looking at what that is currently being used for, currently we have two projects that were approved by voters back in 2000. And so these projects were approved for a 25-year term, and one was for the American Bank Center Arena. So this funding was used to construct the American Bank Center Arena. We issued debt to be able to build that. And this revenue produces right now about $9 million a year. And so we've been able to take money and not only pay off that debt, but then also reinvest back into the arena. And so as technology has changed, as things have hit end of life, we've been able to take this money and reinvest it back in it. But this authorization expires September of 25. The second project that was approved was the downtown seawall. So at the time in the early 2000s, there was a lot of improvements and not structural issues, but some repairs needed to be done to it. And so again, the city issued debt to make those major improvements to the seawall. This revenue was used to be able to pay off that debt, but we've been fortunate again, the fact that it produced more revenue than was needed for those debt payments. And so we've been able to continue reinvesting it back into the seawall, along with the marina, the water gardens, the art museum, and the art center. And so this authorization expires in March of 26. So we have some options. We can reauthorize this under the Type A statute, the Type B statute, use it for general purposes, or we can allow it to expire. So engagement since the 2023 election. So many of you may remember we did take this for the election back in November, and citizens chose not to approve the projects that we came forward with. So we took those lessons learned. We've been meeting with, the city manager met with council members after the election. We have been meeting with community stakeholders. We've met with over 40 community stakeholders to date, and we're continuing to meet with them to really get that input on what they would like to see these projects be. So in February 27th, the city council met to discuss what kind of a baseline for this. And so we'll talk a little bit about what that baseline is. And then in May 8th, which was actually last week, we met again to talk further about what those purposes and what those uses would be. So the baseline right now to be able to use for the 1/8 cent that is currently being used at the arena is to continue using it for the arena, but also expand the use to the whole American Bank Center. So right now, even though they are distinct, they are separate functioning things within the American Bank Center, they are within the same building. And so as it stands right now, if something were to break in the convention center, this money can't be used on that. It can only be used within the arena. So then in addition to having the arena, expanding it to the American Bank Center, we also want to add the city facilities that are within the C District area. And so that does include museums. There's 3 museums in this area, the Harbor Playhouse and the Water Garden. So all of these facilities act together for synergy, for visitors, for citizens, and to create those cultural aspects downtown. So here's a representation on the map All of them are very close together, and they do act as synergy together for attractions. So then, looking at the 1/8 cents that's currently being used for the seawall. So we'll continue using it for the downtown seawall, flood control structures. That includes maintenance improvements to the breakwater, the salt flat levee, the flood control pumps, along with what we consider the seawall, which is along shoreline there from McGee Beach all the way down to the port. So this is a very important, these components are designed to act together, to work together. So back in the 40s when it was originally built, it was the wall that's along the seawall, along the shoreline, along with all of these other aspects work together to protect the downtown area. But then also look at citywide flood control and coastal resiliency projects. So as you know, there's multiple areas across the city that flood either through tidal flooding or through rain flooding. And so looking to continue protecting those. And so with this shift on the focus, it would be removing those public facilities that currently receive funding, including the Marina, the Art Museum, and the Art Center. Art Museum would be covered under the other 1/8 cents. The Art Center is eligible for funding through general fund or through the downtown increment zone. So these are the projects that have been identified across the city. These are areas that are prone to flooding, and as a result of the flooding, has really limited the development that can occur in that area. In addition, we do have a lot of erosion that is occurring along our Corpus Christi Bay coastline, and this would help protect that coastline along with mitigate future erosion. So in addition to the projects, we would also make sure that there is money set aside specifically for the seawall. So we're in the process right now of working with our engineering department to identify really what is needed to protect the seawall over the next 20 to 25 years. For modeling purposes, we have utilized, we've estimated about $73 million will need to be put aside specifically for the seawall. That will help take care of those annual maintenance needs, the occasional maintenance needs, the major maintenance needs that will need to be done over the next 25 years. And so this money would be set aside specifically for that. So on this map, you can see these projects that we have over here on the left-hand side and the numbers that go across the city. These projects are set across the city and do affect multiple areas across the city. So then looking at the term, one of the things we also heard from voters from November is the fact that they weren't comfortable with not having a defined term on the sales tax. So we are proposing a 25-year term. This would allow, we estimate that over 25 years, 1/8 cents would produce $256 million. If we looked at a shorter term, that would lower the amount that could be collected, but this is a representation of what that could produce over the different terms. So looking at our next steps, we've done a lot of community engagement. We had our council workshop. We actually talked about it yesterday at City Council again, but we're going to continue reaching out. We have about 10 or 15 more groups that we're working on to have those input with them. We're doing these community input meetings. We're going to take all of that information and in June really refine those purposes and those projects, present those back to City Council the end of June for a final recommendation. And then we will then be going out and engaging the community again to educate even more on what those projects are and how the proposed uses will be defined on the ballot. The election will be called in August, and then we are proposing the election day be November the 5th. So these are just a list of what the upcoming bond meetings are, and then we also have the impact fee meetings on here. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Okay. Well, great. Well, I will turn it back over to Mr. Zanotti. Yes.
I'm Robin Burns, and I live in District 3. And one of the things that I think I've heard Ms. Ferrera talked about having it simple that it can fit on a postcard. I'm a retired CPA, and so I understand a lot of the information. But I think what I would suggest is the city have just two topics. Like
Okay.
the first topic is the arena, etc.
Exactly.
Okay, and the second part of that is flood prevention, or, something like that.
Yeah.
So that I just saw on this presentation the fact that the arena was separate from the other two items, and it just, okay, well, it was originally was passed just to have just for the arena.
Exactly.
And now we want to expand it to and it's usually other people's money that's that's coming from sales tax.
Sure.
So it's not a burden really on. It gets a lot more money from outside if you have those things maintained. Anyway, that's.
And that is a very good point. Sales tax is collected by not only the citizens, but those that visit our city. And so I think the last estimation is about 30% of our sales tax is paid for or collected from sales or activities of people who are visiting our area. So, using those facilities, exactly. And actually on the facilities, it's really interesting. So between 60 and 70% of the use of the facilities is actually those within either the city of Corpus Christi or the surrounding areas. And so the facility is used a lot for that local use, graduations, games, things like that. So it's not only just for conventions.
Hi, I wanted to also mention that from these discussions, from going out into the public, we held the first one in my district, and the talk in that meeting was really about streets and sidewalks. Well, after that discussion, it was brought to our attention that there was actually a possibility that we, instead of using these projects, we could actually offer something to the voters, which would be, could we use the 1/8 cent tax for residential streets and sidewalks? And for me, and for the people that I know I represent and that I hear calls from, I think that would be, just at least an option that we should, look into. But right now, because, the city and the staff have been dedicated to, trying to find out what do the citizens want. And I just wanted to just mention that there's now this new, option for us to look into. But right now, we're still in discussion. We're still going out into the community. But I know in our area, this is huge. It's huge, and I'm going to continue to promote it, and hopefully the people that are watching and listening can start to have those discussions. Would you like to see your money used in your own, residential streets and sidewalks? And I think if you were to put that question out there, I think the answer would be yes. But since it's not being offered now, and we don't know that it can be, you don't know, right? You don't know until you know. But I'm just putting it out there that there is an option. So I don't know. I love this gentleman that is a working man from the city, right? Yeah, I just want to say thank you for taking the time here to come and right after work in your uniform. So this reminds me of my dad, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
So the mayor's going to say a few comments.
Okay.
Yeah, Neiman's going to close out the meeting, but the mayor did come in after doing some work at City Hall, so she's going to say a few comments to the community. And after the mayor, we'll turn it back over to Neiman just to close it out. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. And thank you all for being here. Hello. What matters is your voice, and we like to make certain that everybody knows that, what we present up here, what the councilwoman is talking about in terms of streets, it's all up to you. It's up to the taxpayer. And these are your dollars, right, that we're spending, but we have to listen to you. We have to hear what you want to do. These are all ideas. These are things that you vote, or your elected officials are responsible for saying, well, where do we start? I think Peter's mentioned this before. It's a baseline, or Heather, it's a baseline. And so lots of need within the city. But if your voice is, if you don't voice what you want, then we don't hear it. And this is not the only way to do that. You can email us, you can call us, you can set appointments with us. You have 3 at-large council members that represent you. And then you have a district councilman, and then you have a mayor. So you have 5 people that actually represent this area. And so remember that. You can get appointments to see us. You can reach out in whatever form you want. The most important thing about these community meetings is that you're heard. But I stress what I just said because many people are at home cooking dinner. They're with their kids. They're taking care of their parents. They're doing a lot of other things. They're working. And so this by any means is not the only way. And it's very difficult. But we did to reach everyone. But we want you to know that this is about you and what you want to see. And we truly do take that. We take what we hear, we really do, into consideration. We had a group of kids come over to council a couple of times saying, we want a skate park. Guess what they're getting? A skate park. Now, that'll come to fruition when it comes to fruition, but it wasn't on the plan. And they came, their voices were heard. And so I'm just letting you know, spread that word, because Councilman Barrera is very good at listening to his constituents, and that's what needs to happen is let him know what you like, what you don't like, and know that we make a great effort to be here and to let you know that, you know, the presentation before you is just that. It's for you, but you get to have the last word. So thank you very much for being here, and I will hand it back over to Mr. Young. Oh, okay. Oh, you're going to close out. I'm sorry.
All right, I've been following on Facebook and YouTube online, and I want to thank the 8 people that are watching. It's actually 6 since I was watching it too, so I was 1 for each one of them. But the good thing is you can go back and review it. So those of you that are here, please encourage everybody to go back and look at. I think one of the things that I'm really pleased with is there are several projects as to where we're leveraging funds. You know, particularly with the Hillcrest Aquatic Center, it's going to be a community program. It's going to be a community project. And then I think one also because there will be people from the other side of the bridge that will come over, and it's going to be a good way to leverage our dollars so that way those people are coming to spend money in Corpus Christi and, you know, keep our business, keep the area thriving. And so obviously until the bridge is done, it's going to be a while before it comes to fruition. But we're leveraging all those funds. I think the other thing also moving, and as I reiterated earlier on the fire station, is that you're gonna get 2 deals there, right there. It's number one, it's gonna enhance the safety of the community, and it's gonna provide an additional asset that will make the community thrive. And then I think the other opportunities that we've indicated is the same thing with what we're planning to do is that we're going to invest these funds so that way we can ensure I joke around, you know, a lot of times people say, well, why didn't you take care of that before you came? And I said we hired Peter as fast as we could. So now that he's been here 5 years, we're really hitting the ground running, and they're continuing to sharpen the saw. But anyway, thank you again for all the folks that are watching at home, and if you see this later on, and thank you for those of you that attended. There's only a few of you that I've never met before. Ms. Perone, obviously, thank you. You always come out. What is it? I saw Howard Shower here a little bit ago, and Albert, thank you so much for coming. So please, if I've never met you before, come up to me and get a business card. And thank you, Neiman, for so much for facilitating this. Here you go.
That's it. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all for your time. Thank you.